Chapter 29, protection of the environment. When we talk about protection of the environment will be clean as we want it to be, but for the fact that we have business activity, so that means whatever we do it within the environment. So that brings about protection of the environment. So it's part of government responsibility to ensure that the environment is at least still okay for the future generation, especially. So let's go down. Business activity that damages the environment. The wide range of business activity has the potential to damage the environment. However, every industry such as chemical processing, oil refining, mining, power generation, and steel production in particular can have a harmful impact on the environment. Some examples of the way certain businesses' activity damage the environment are described below. So, business activity, especially the secondary sector of the economy, it involves manufacturing, conversion of raw materials into finished products. And we can't convert these raw materials into finished products without using equipment or machine. So this will make these machines to emit carbon. It doesn't make the environment too clean anymore. So what are those activities that cause or that bring about damage to the environment? One, mining. Open cast mining, where materials are extracted from a giant hole in the ground, is one of the most damaging mining activities of all. One problem is that many of the minerals and other useful materials that are mined are only available in very small quantities. This means that huge quantities of earth and rock have to be extracted from the site and then processed to recover the small fraction of valuable material. This often involves crushing rocks, which may release harmful materials such as radioactive elements, asbestos, like minerals, and metallic dust. During the separation process, something called tailing is produced. This is a mixture of crushed rock and liquid. It is possible for toxic and radioactive elements from tailings to leak slowly through the ground into water systems if not managed effectively. In addition to this, huge open cast mines and countryside are destroyed and destroy wildlife habitats. The mining of coal iron. So basically, mining, it's an activity that gives you few resources, but large damage. That is what they are telling us here. So you're going to get just few resources, but you would have damaged a whole land to get this few, which in the course of getting it, the consequences are huge. That is the point about mining. So mining destroys this. Well, the waste material, in the course of you mining, maybe you need to get diamond. So in the course of mining it, those things that are left over, that are not attended to, that is what tailing is about. Do you get it or not?
Okay.
When you mine, the most important things are those ones you take. So those things that are left, that are not useful, but could cause damage to the environment or that could be harmful to the environment are called tailing. Clear? So mining, I think mining is clear. Mining is all about taking just few resources from destroying a whole lot of land. Clear? 2, power generation. That's generation of electricity. Generation of electricity can be very damaging to the environment. This is particularly the case when it's produced by burning fossil fuels, such as coal and oil. A wide range of harmful environmental impacts can result from fossil fuels, fuel power plants, such as emission of carbon, the release of hot water, climatic and visual impacts from cooling towers, solid waste disposal, ash disposal, and noise. Owing to the need for large amounts of steam, power plants need to use huge quantities of water and then return that water to its source. If the water is dirty and too warm, it can damage wildlife in the water systems. However, most of the damage done by power stations is probably from emissions of carbon. So for power generation, we need electricity. We need to generate electricity for power plants. This needs to burn fuel. So burning fuel will emit carbon, which is damaging. And if we have to use water, water is coming from a source. And it has to return back to the source. There's no reservoir to keep the water. So that means it's coming from the source and going back to the source. But if it's going back to the source, how clean is it? Mostly dirty and hot. So that means going back to the source, it damages the wildlife in the source, which is in the water in the river. So which means the wildlife are damaged and the water is not clean as it used to be. That is about power generation. The third one, we're talking about activity that involves damaging the society, the environment. The third one is chemical processing. Chemicals, are you with me? Chemicals are used to make the majority of synthetic materials and play an important role in everyday life. For example, chemicals are used in products to provide protection for crops and increase yields, prevent and cure diseases, provide insulation to reduce energy use, and provide countless other benefits that help improving living standards and the quality of life. Yes, chemical for balloons, silicone, and the rest, they are used. But the problem about using chemical is that, yes, as much as it gives us, it becomes a yardstick to have a better life, it also has a consequence because it destroys the environment in terms of emission, in terms of different chemicals that has to go. For example, for pesticides, we use them to protect our plants because we need these plants to germinate so that we can eat them. But these pesticides are also harmful. If it touches the hand or mistakenly touch the mouth, it becomes a poison. So they do goods and they have so much harms too. So we have to balance things. But all in all, using chemicals will help plants grow, will bring about a better living standard. But at the same time, it has to be managed. If not, it will cause some harm to the people and to the wildlife and the environment itself. That is chemical processing. And they make some examples. It says some refineries and chemical processing plants release hazardous air pollutants. This can cause cancer and other health problems. So definitely we know this. So these things are hazardous, but we can't do without them. To have a better living standard, we need processes of chemical. But using these things, they have negative impacts on human activity or human life. So that's about that. Agriculture. When I talk about agriculture, agriculture is the planting of crops, rearing of animals for the benefit of man. So whatever happens in agriculture is for the benefit of man. But let's see what they said here. They wrote, farming can have a variety of negative environmental effects. One of the main problems results from the use of pesticides and fertilizers. Although fertilizers can increase crop yield, that means it helps plants to grow more. After heavy rainfall, some always end up in the river because they wash up. During rainfall, flood will wash this chemical into the river. So going to the river makes the water becomes unclean. And wildlife, fishes and things in the river, they get killed and the environment becomes polluted. Aside that, water becomes undrinkable. We need to spend more to purify the water before it becomes drinkable. That's another problem there. But without fertilizer and pesticides, we won't be seeing germinations of crops. We won't be seeing plants. We won't be seeing these crops to be able to eat them. So that's about that. Then they go to feel, okay, they said farm can also contribute to global warming. One reason is because factory farming in particular generates about 37% of global methane emissions. This is a greenhouse gas and can impact on global warming. Then we talk about deforestation. For deforestation, we're talking about when we start cutting down forests, we burn them, and they are no more forests anymore because we need to use them for other things, maybe for buildings and the rest. But in as much as you are cutting down forests, that is deforestation. And you can't just cut down forests without burning them because you need the land, not the plant, not the trees. So you have to cut and burn. That's why it increases the carbon and also brings about global warming. I think the point is clear. Yes. Construction. This is where we need the brown land. For construction, the construction industry produces more waste material than any other industry. The main example in the UK, construction industry produces 109 million tons of construction waste each year. Of this, about 24% is total waste. The industry produces 3 times more waste than all households combined. About 1/2 of the waste is recycled, but huge amounts still end up in the landfill sites or other disposal plants. Waste on this scale uses up resources and causes disposal problems. Construction activities such as land clearing, operation of diesel engines, demolition, burning and working with toxic materials contribute to air pollution. For construction, I'm just going to round it up. For construction, we need clear land. So clearing the land, we need to cut down trees. We need to destroy, maybe offices now. We need to build offices. We need to, destroy some buildings, some premises. All these things bring about dust, which is air pollution. It's air pollution. That's for that. Also, they talked about water pollution here for diesel and oil. Diesel and oil will end up on the land. It will be washed away with water to the river or wherever it is. It brings about water pollution. Most business activities tend to have a negative impact. Also for business activity, that's the top paragraph there. Most business activities tend to have a negative impact on the environment. For example, most businesses use electricity. This is generated by burning fossil fuel. Environment damage will be caused. Most businesses also produce waste. If it cannot be reused or recycled, it might be burnt, which would cause carbon emission. Alternatively, it might find its way into landfill sites, which cause other problems. So for business activity, schools, companies, they use resources. The resources that they cannot, reuse or recycle. It will end up on the land. And when it ends up on the land, it has to be burnt. So burning it on the mainland, one way or the other, will find its way on the landfill. And that is also a damage to the environment. Yeah. Waste businesses damage the environment. So how do businesses damage the environment? One, we have visual pollution, which we can see. Business activity may cause some visual pollution. This is where business activity results in something physical that looks very unattractive. For many people, the sight of smoke flowing from power stations might be regarded as visual pollution. Other examples might include giant office blocks, advertising hoarding, bright illuminated signs, advertising products and businesses, wind farms, electricity pylons, slag heaps, overflowing skips next to construction sites. These are dust. Disused factories and smog. Finally, most people would also regard litter as visual pollution. Litter is a more serious problem in countries where there are no orderly collection systems. In some countries, refuse is often left in piles on the street. Although this is an example of visual pollution. Although visual pollution may not be as severe as other types of pollution, it is likely to have a negative impact on people's well-being and reduce living standards. So for visual pollution, it's about sightseeing. How things that we see that becomes disgusting, things that doesn't look good. One way or the other, they could bring about diseases. So that's why, though it might not be so severe, but when you continue to pile up dirt, flies will perch on them. The flies will find a way of getting to the room, to the houses. They perch on the food we eat. So one way or the other, we get different diseases through these things. So on which way, businesses piling up stocks of unused materials or used materials, people piling, especially businesses. So without taking care of them, without them being disposed as early as possible, it brings about visual pollution. I think visual pollution is clear. So that's one of the ways in which businesses destroy the environment or damage the environment too. Noise pollution, excessive noise. They said, if excessive noise results from a business activity, this could be regarded as noise pollution. If noise causes disturbance to everyday life, then it can be a problem for people and reduce their quality of life. Some common examples of business-related noise pollution may be caused by jet engines as aircraft fly over residential areas. The sound. Music and loud conversation in public areas, bars, nightclubs, and discos, if located too near to residential areas. In clubs, they make a lot of noise through music. People might not be able to sleep. So it disturbs people's sleep and they don't have the time to rest. Machinery, vehicle, and power tools on construction sites. When there are construction sites around, or maybe they have to build a house or a factory close to residential, they need heavyweight equipment. And this equipment will make noise, loud noise. That's noise pollution. So heavy industrial machinery such as compressors, generators, exhaust fans, presses, and grinding mills in factories. So these are equipment that make a lot of noise. They cause noise pollution. The constant sound of commercial traffic on a road or motorway. The hoods, these are noises and different noises passing through the busy road. They disturb, especially if it's closer to environment. Even if it's not closer to environment, promoters, people passing by, this noise stops.
Or if it's close to place where people live.
Residential area.
Like apartments.
So these are all about noise pollution, which is also damage, which is caused by business activity. The third one, air pollution. For air, it's about carbon emission. So these are factories, They said factories, machines, and vehicles that discharge emission into the atmosphere are responsible for most of the world's air pollution. So air pollution is dangerous because you 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 breathe in, oxygen, and oxygen that you're supposed to breathe in, supposed to be pure, but it's not clear because it's mixed with different chemicals.
Yeah, like carbon.
Yeah. Oh, Nigeria is here. Sorry. They said the most polluted city at the time of measurement was Onitsha in Nigeria. The air in Onitsha contained around 30 times more than the rules recommend level of PM of same particles. Onitsha is a very busy area in Nigeria. It's for the Igbo people there, and they do business a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's about that. So other examples of carbon emission or air pollution are burning of fossil fuels, sulfur dioxide, which comes from burning fossil fuels such as coal and petroleum, emission from factories. They use we call them plants. No, we call them what do we call them? What do we call these big plants that they use? I forgot the name. They are big plants. They emit carbon, but it's through diesel engine plants anyway. Agricultural activities, we talked about that. Use of ammonia, fertilizer, pesticides. These are chemicals that they can find their way to the river. So we scroll down. Water pollution. Are you there? Around 2/3 of the planet is covered in water. However, only about 2.5% of this water is drinkable. Unfortunately, in many countries, the supply of safe drinking water is diminishing due to water pollution. Water pollution is the contamination of oceans, rivers, lakes. Yeah. So when we talk about contamination, basically we're talking about what has been added to make it poisonous, to make it undrinkable, to make it not purified. So that means it's undrinkable. It can only be drinkable when we purify it. It needs purification. So it has been contaminated. It's not pure anymore. That is what contamination is here. I think it's clear. So what are the reasons why we have contaminated water or water pollution? One, industrial waste. Are you there? Many industries such as power generation, brewing, these are companies that produce beer, alcohol, they are breweries, okay? And chemical processing use very large quantities of water in their manufacturing process. They use a lot of water, but this water will be separated. And as soon as they have been separated, they go back to the source. So that makes water to be, not purified, contaminated. Marine and ocean dumping. The dumping of waste materials into the sea causes this form of water pollution. It comes from the waste dumped by shipping leaks, from oil extraction and waste dumps from the land into the sea. In some countries, refuse collection from households containing paper, aluminum, rubber finds a way into the river or to the sea, and this contaminates the water too. Sewage. Sometimes businesses are responsible for collecting and disposing of sewage discharge large quantities into the sea. In most developed countries, it is treated before it reaches the sea. However, in others, untreated sewage may be released directly into the sea, although most sewage is 90% water. It also contains other materials such as chemicals from pharmaceutical drugs and paper, plastic, and other waste that is flushed down the toilet. Also, when people contract viruses, the sewage they produce transport those viruses into the environment. It is possible to catch illness such as hepatitis, typhoid, cholera from contaminated river and seawater. So look at these diseases. When you look at it, it's basically some people carelessness that brings about all these things, and not putting into consideration details about how to care about the environment. We make people to have different diseases that they don't even deserve to have. Not because they are careless, but because the environment, the people in authority are too careless to care. They don't care about these things.
Selfishness.
Yeah, selfishness, poor governance, and so on. The harm resulting from water pollution can be serious. All marine life, such as plants and fish, is threatened. Water pollution is responsible for loss of species and loss of habitat. Perhaps more importantly, at least 320 million people in China do not have access to clean drinking water. In Bangladesh, about 85% of the total area has groundwater contaminated with arsenic, which is a very toxic and acute poison, known as to cause cancer in humans. Every year, 250 million people worldwide contract diseases, and 50 million young children die from causes related to water pollution. So it's a very critical situation. So pollution is not something that is ideal, but it's inevitable because we need to continue doing business, and we need to continue process chemicals. We need to continue do agriculture.
It's not everyday.
It's in our everyday life. So what we need to do is how to manage it. And this is from the government anyway. So we go down. Government intervention. Yeah, that's why I say it's from government. So government has to work on it. Are you with me, please?
Yes.
So government have to work on it. So government intervention. Government intervention to protect the environment. A number of measures are used to help reduce environmental damage resulting from business activities. So the first thing the government could do, when it becomes negative externality, especially when it is negative externality, government could increase taxes. So by increasing taxes, it becomes a disincentive to continue that activity. That is the point they are making here. So let's read anyway. Taxation. When government impose taxes on those that damage the environment, the aim of taxation is to ensure that those who cause social costs through business activity meet them. The tax which will come into effect, okay, that's the story. Anyway, I'm just going to, because they use case study of different countries here. So for taxation, government will impose taxes for those who damage the environment. Why is government doing this? Government is doing this so that they pay for their actions. That is the point there. I think it's clear. So in the course of you paying for your actions every now and then, you would feel discouraged because it takes away your profits. So when your costs continue to increase, your profits will reduce. As a result of that, you start thinking about other ways to go about your business activity. And that might really stop or reduce environmental damage. Taxation, is it clear? We'll move on. Subsidies. The government can offer grants, tax allowances, and other subsidies to firms that as an incentive to reduce activities that damage the environment. For example, a firm might receive a subsidy if it builds a plastic recycling plant. So for subsidies, government wants to encourage businesses that are conscious about environmental damage, businesses that put into consideration sustainable growth or friendly environment. So government wants to give them, encourage them by giving them incentive. As a result, government financially help them. So those that are still not in line with government directives regarding taking care of the environment might see that and like, oh, we have to change so that we can also, enjoy these benefits from government. That is subsidies. I think it's clear. Regulation. A range of legislation. For regulation, we're talking about government laws. Government coming up with different laws to make environmental damage becomes illegal. So if it becomes illegal, you don't have any other choice than to abide with the law because no one is above the law. So this reduces activities that causes harm to the environment. Regulation is clear. Is it clear, please?
Yes.
Fines. These are financial penalty. So when you continue to pay fines, you pay from your revenue. And when you continue to pay from your revenue, at the end, in the course of you taking your revenue from your cost, you find out that your profit margin is increasing. So you're making less. Then you have to think otherwise. You have to start thinking about ways to do things better. Maybe invest in technology. You will find a way around it. So fines also reduces businesses' activity that comes about damaging the environment. Is it clear? Pollution permits. For pollution permits, we're talking about you having the license to pollute the air. But one thing is this: before you have the license, the Ministry of Environment, we have the Ministry of Environment. They already have the estimate of pollution that must be emitted within a specific period of time. So they're going to sell pollution permits. They're going to grant pollution permits based on those carbon that has to be emitted at that period of time. So it will be sold to all businesses around. And as soon as yours is done, you won't be able to get further, except if you are buying from another business. So buying from another business that has not finished using its carbon will mean that we're still going to use the same, we're not going to exceed the maximum, the limit of pollution. That is what pollution permit is about. You won't get you won't get more from government. You would only get from those that have not used their own. So that is what pollution permit is. Is it clear?
Yes.
Park provision. For park provision, they said in many countries, the government establishes national parks where businesses development and other commercial ventures are completely illegal. The parks often very large areas of land aim to preserve and protect areas of outstanding natural beauty. They may contain wildlife, historic sites, beautiful scenery, and areas of special interest. They welcome visitors, but there may be restrictions on their activity. So for park provision, we have the national park. There, you can't build businesses there. You can't take away the green field. It is meant to be protected. So by so doing, some environments will be there that will not be damaged with business activity because government has set aside those places for beauty. So we don't go there. No matter what happens about business activity, no matter what we want to do, those places are restricted for business activity. As a result of that, those environments will be clean from pollution and damage. Is it clear?
Yeah, don't we do that to forests too abroad?
Yeah, we have we call them game reserves. We have the game reserve that you cannot even touch the animals there, touch anything there. You can only go there to view or to sightsee. Aside that, you can't do anything. You can't even take a plant off, not talk of cutting down a tree, or not talk of touching an animal. You can, it's a game reserve. So it's basically there and it will be there forever. Is it clear? So we have the multiple choice questions now. Question 1. Which of the following tax changes, which of the following tax changes is most likely to help protect the environment?
Increase carbon.
Yeah, because pollution is carbon emission. So for you to reduce carbon emission, you have to increase carbon taxes.
Yeah.
It's C. Good. Question 2. Which of the following might be an example of visual pollution caused by a business?
Wind farm.
Wind?
Farm.
Wind farm, yeah, great. So question 2 is A. That ends chapter 29. What is the title of chapter 29?
Protection of the environment.
Protection of the environment. Is it clear? All right.